All right. Virtual office hours the night before the quiz. It is not 7 p.m. yet, so I don't even know if that recorded. But I'm hopeful someone was going to show up to this one because I think a lot of the people are a little uncertain on while loops. A little uncertain on them, but that's okay. So tonight I am just going to. So tonight I'm just going to be solving a whole bunch of while loop problems. I think. Hopefully either people will catch it later. Maybe people will show up. It's the night before our quiz, so I hope a few people show up so we can talk, make it a little more interesting. But if not, I'm just going to do while loops until I get bored of them, which will probably be less than an hour. Let's go ahead and bring up VS Code and find some problems for us to do. So I'm going to try the ChatGPT method and see what it gives me. I know it's been it's not like you kind of have to fiddle with it, right? You have to kind of regenerate it a few times, but eventually, you know, it falls into place. Up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, now you can see my face. So let's just go into it. Let's say, can you give me a simple while loop exercise to practice on my own Python? Write a program that asks, the number guesser program. All right, cool. Let's start. That's honestly fine. I don't know why they gave me the whole problem, but whatever. I'm going to do it from scratch. Let's see. I told you not to. Yeah, it's all right. Let's see here. Wait, where did my YouTube chat go? Did that disappear? Yes. Chat. Let's bring that down here. That way people can chime in if they want to. Check back in that in a second. All right, so simple while loop exercise for you. Write a Python program that asks the user to guess a number between 1 and 100. Program should keep prompting the user to guess until they guess the correct number. If the guess is too high, tell them too high. If it's too low, too low. Once the user guesses the correct number, the program should print, "Congratulations, you guessed the number." All right, that's simple enough. Not even really extra conditions there. Let's go ahead and just kind of do it from scratch. So this is the number guesser program. Let's just call it number guesser. Okay. So the one thing you kind of need for this problem, it was gone over in lecture a little bit, but we didn't really do a lab on it yet. I kind of have one planned in the next few days on that one. The basic idea is to generate random numbers, you need to use this little random package. This is one way to do it. I'll show you two ways to do it, just in case you're curious. And I'll explain what the difference is. So this little import random thing here, this imports the entire random package. That means all the functions that is available to random. We get Python random module. This is a standard library module, so this comes with all versions of Python. Generate pseudo-random numbers. So you can see we have a class random, so that's something even fancier than a function. We haven't really talked about those yet. So you can seed a random number generator. I don't think that's going to make, that's kind of advanced. I don't want to go too much into seeding and stuff like that. This is more useful. So something like random range, right? So sometimes it's useful to have a random range. What exactly is this? So it's a range that return a randomly selected element from range start, stop to step. Okay, so it literally does range start, stop to step, and then pick something random from it. So it could go in any order. You would also get the randint function, which is the one we're going to use for this problem, to generate a random number between A and B, two different numbers. You have the choice function, which lets you choose from a list of items. So if you have like a custom list of items, you could choose from them. Shuffle lets you shuffle those. So I could go on forever. There's a lot of freaking functions in this package, right? So when you do import random, you get all of these packages, right? So I can use any of these in my code now that it's imported. So I'll just pick random range, random.rand range. Let's do 1 to 10, even numbers only. Let's see what that does. So I go ahead and hit play. Where's the output? Oh, it's here. 5. Okay. Oh, duh. Odd numbers, because I started from 1. It's not even numbers, right? That's why that happened. So just to make that super clear, I'm going to print the range of that function, because I just made that mistake, so you guys could definitely easily make that mistake. So save and print. Right, random. Oh, gotta change it to a list so you actually see the list. There we go. Right, so this is going to generate the numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we said start from 1, don't go higher than 10, and step by 2. So since we started from 1, it's going to count by 2s, which is going to be odd numbers. I was stupid. I should have done from 2 if I wanted the even numbers. Let's stick with the odd, though. Doesn't really matter. Right, so back to the random range function. Right, this is just going to generate numbers from that list. 1, 3, 5, 7, 7, 3, 5, right? All the odd numbers. So I can use any function in this, so I can use the randint function. Look at that, how that works, because that's what we're going to use for this problem. Right, so this will generate a number 1 to 5 without skipping. Right, so that's going to be 5. We got 4. We got 1. We got 5. We got all of them, right? And notice something kind of weird here. So unlike range, you include this number, right? So 5 was one of the possible outputs here. Right, so it's not excluding 5. That might be a little tricky to people who are a little new to this. Okay, back to the problem at hand. Oh, wait, no. I wanted to explain more about the random. Right, so this is one way we can import the random function and generate some random numbers, right? Just by using the random.randint. The way I prefer to do it is if you're only using one function, just import one function. The way that works is use a little bit of a different syntax from this. You're going to use from random, so that's saying from that package. You're going to import the randint function. What's cool about this is that now you don't need this little random dot randint anymore. So watch, if I'm going to run this, I think it gets an error. Right, random's not defined because we didn't import random, right? We only imported one function from random. Right, so the benefit of this syntax is that I only use the randint one. That'll make your program a little bit smaller when you end up packaging up. Good to know both ways, because sometimes you do need the whole module, and sometimes you don't know what function you need, and you just kind of want to do it on the fly. You know, that's totally fine. But if you really just know what you're going to use, you can use this syntax. Okay, so with that extra explanation out of the way, let's actually solve this problem. All right, so we know that this is a number guessing program, right? We know that we're going to ask the user to guess a number between 1 and 100, and there's going to be a correct number they need to guess. So we need a couple things for this program. We need the correct number to guess. So let me write some comments to kind of set up my work here. All right, so we need a store a random correct number. Right, that's going to be our first step. I might as well just finish this off because we already did half of it, right? So the function generates a number 1 to 5. If we want to store that in a value, we have to give it a name. So we're going to go ahead and call it the correct number equals randint. Let's be a little crazy. Well, actually, no, the program told us, right? 1 and 100. So let's just go with 1 and 100. Okay. All right, so we stored our correct number. Let's figure out the rest of the steps to this program. Let me get my shell out of the way so we can actually just zoom out a little bit. It's a little big. That's better. Okay. So we have our number stored. So now we need to, what did the program say? Ask the user to guess a number between 1 and 100. Okay, let's tackle that part first. Ask a user to guess a number between 1 and 100. All right, so ask user for their guess. While the guess is incorrect, all right, so I'm going on to the next step. Program should keep prompting the user to guess until they guess the correct number. So that's saying while the guess is incorrect, ask for more guesses. And then if the guess is too high, all right, so this will probably happen during the loop, but we'll get to that in a second. So if the guess is too high, tell them. I'll just keep it simple. If the guess is too low, tell them. Otherwise, they won. Right? Because it can't. If it's not too high, it's not too low. They had to have guessed it correctly. All right. So we got the basic setup for this program. So let's try to translate some of this to code. Ask the user for their guess. So this is one we've done a million times in class. But let's say you're joining our stream for the first time, and you didn't know how to ask a user for their input. What you're going to want to look at is the input function in Python. So Python input. Click the documentation. Oh, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. So that's talking about formatting, print, and all that stuff. I really just care about the input function. Let me go to this documentation. Well, the W3 Schools documentation, which sometimes is a little friendlier, honestly. Okay, so the way input works is you have this variable on the left that we want to store the value into, and you have this input function on the right, which takes in that value. You can fill this in with a prompt. So if you didn't want to do print and then input, you could take this little prompt and store it in the input, and it'll output it for you. That's a little confusing for some people at first, especially if they've done Java, because in Java you can't add a prompt to your input, right? You have to do it like this. You print it, and then you do ask for the input. But in Python, you're allowed to kind of just put it all in one. Be nice. So let's go ahead and do that. So user for their guess. I'll go ahead and call this guess. And we're going to say input. Enter your guess. Okay, I always like to leave a little space on the end. Looks a little nicer to the user. Okay, so that will store their guess. And in this case, we want it to be a number, right? So in this case, we'll assume that they're going to input a number. So we won't do any error checking on that for this example. But I'm just going to assume that it's going to be a number. So we say int input. That'll convert it to a number as long as they enter a number. Okay, that problem is solved. Let's run the program so far and see how it works. All right, so I press play, enter your guess, and the program's over. Nothing really fancy going on yet. All right, so now we got to program the main logic to this. So while the guess is incorrect, ask for more guesses. Okay, so the way a while loop is going to work is that a while loop is similar to an if statement. In that, right, I might write something for, if I wanted to check something one time, right, if I wanted to check the guess one time, I might write an if statement like this. If the guess is not equal to the correct number, then we're going to ask them to guess again. Right now, I won't worry about this part, the if the guess too high, we'll program that part later. Let's just go ahead and just add another input. So while the guess is incorrect, ask for more guesses. Well, we know how to ask for more guesses, that's this line. So let's just go ahead and copy that and put it right down here and tab it in. Right, so the tab has a significant meaning in Python, right? If this condition is true, it's going to go to the tabbed portion of the program. Right? So if this is true, go to the tabbed portion. So let's leave it like that right now. So let's go ahead and just run it as is. So most likely the number I got to put in is incorrect. So it's probably just going to ask me again. All right, so I put in 7. That wasn't right. 5. Wow, 5 happened to be right. I can't believe that's 5 out of 1. That's really low chance, but that's how it works, right? That's probability for you. Unlikely stuff happens all the time. So in that case, the correct number was 5. Oh wait, no, I'm stupid. I don't have a while loop yet. What am I saying? Duh. Of course it only ran one time, Mike, because this is an if statement, right? So if this is true, this will ask again. Right, so 7 was the wrong guess, so it asked again. If I guessed the correct number, it wouldn't ask again. So that's an if statement example, right? That's checking the condition, and if it's true, we ask again. In that case, it was true because 7 was not the correct number. But the corollary to this is kind of the while loop, right? So if we wanted to run this as long as it's not the correct number, I might write something as like this, while the guess is not equal to the correct number. The main difference between this and the last statement we saw is that when this condition is true, we enter the tab portion of the program, and we keep running the tab portion of the program. So let's keep track of guesses too. The program didn't ask for it, but maybe we should. So let's have another variable to store the guesses. So the guesses is 0. And each time we make a guess, well, we made a guess first, so we gotta do this first. Guesses plus equals 1. And then we'll print out what guess we're on. So print well, if it's not equal, right, we can assume that's wrong, right? So we can say wrong. Guess number. Actually, let's do format string. Right? Format is going to be on the test too. So if we want a number, the placeholder for that is %d for digit. And we're going to go ahead and format that with the guesses. So that was guess number 1. Right. Let's see how the program differs now. So enter your guess, 7. Oh, whoops, not guess. That was the number I entered, right? We want guesses, right? So let's just go over what happened there, right? I entered 7 and it put out guess number 7. That's because guess is the number I guessed, right? That goes in this variable. So you actually wanted to print out guesses. That gets the counter that you're incrementing. All right, so enter the number 7. That's guess number 1. Enter 5. That's guess number 2. And so on and so forth. That can't be it. That's out of range. Let's see if I can eventually guess it. I'm going to be guessing all day, probably. 32. Right, so you can see as many numbers as I get, the loop does not end. None of these are the correct number. I'm feeling like I'm going to give up in about a second. Oops. All right, I give up. I think that the computer has bested me. All right, so let's go ahead and end this program. If you're curious what I'm doing there, that's Control-C I'm doing. Right, so Control-C will cancel your program. That's what that stands for. All right, so let's get the rest of the program. So right now we just have them guessing until they guess the correct number. To debug our program, let me go ahead and just print out the correct number to start, to make sure that it actually exits when I enter the correct number. Oh, oops, correct number. All right, so real quick. So the correct number is 95. So if I enter 67, I'll ask again, 36. But once I enter a 95, the game is over, right? And that's because there's no code after this. So this condition became false. We went out of the loop, the part that's not tabbed, which would be over here, line 15. Okay, so... Well, at that point, right? So if the loop ends, we can probably tell them that they won. So let's see if we can get that behavior while we have this little debug statement in here. So I can do print you won, right? Because if you guess the number, right, if you got out of the loop, game's over. All right, so let's go play. So the correct number is 50. I guess 50, and I win the game. Notice I have this tagged out in this case. That's because I don't want this part repeated. I only want this to happen when this loop is over. So what's going on here is that, well, let me run the program. That'll make more sense. Let me bring this up so you can actually read it. So the correct guess is supposed to be 86. So I guess like 14. So what happened there? So 14 does not equal 86. Guesses goes up by 1. So that's guess number 1, right? Print out guess number 1. Then we're going to ask for the next guess. That's where I am right now in my program. So I guess something else. Let's do a wrong one. So 57. Right? We go back up here. So while the guess is not the correct number, we're still going to repeat this tabbed in code. So let's see. 57 does not equal 86. We add 1 to the guess. We say that it's wrong. That's guess number blank. And then we ask for the next guess. So now when I enter the correct number, right, so 57 doesn't equal 86, so that's true, right? That condition is true. Once I enter 86, 86 does not equal, well, it's testing. Does 86 not equal 86? That's false, right? Because 86 does equal 86. So that's why I did not repeat the loop again, right? So it checked, and it went down here. Okay, now let's get the rest of this. So the only thing we're kind of missing here is if the guess is too high, tell them. If it's too low, tell them. Otherwise, they won. Well, we got the they won part, so maybe I'll move this little comment up here. Right? That is the otherwise they won. And this stuff, if the guess is too high, tell them. If the guess is too low, tell them. Well, where do I want to do this in my program? Well, I probably want to do it after every guess, right? So the first guess happens here. And then it checks that guess, and then it has another guess after. So what I probably want to do is check my guess first thing I enter the loop, right? So I'm going to ask for my guess, and then enter the loop. So, oh, just wrong comment. Right, so let's take these comments upwards. Right, so we want this to happen first. Right, so I'll tab this in to make sure that, to make a note to myself that I want this stuff in the loop. Now question, do I want... You know, I probably want to do this after now I think about it. So let's think about the order this is happening. So this, how I have it, is check if the guess is too high, tell them. If the guess is too low, tell them. Then I add, and then I say that that's the wrong guess. Maybe I want to say it's the wrong guess first and then check if it's higher or lower. So let me just change the order of this a little bit. Okay, so it'll say it's the wrong guess. Guess is too high, tell them. If the guess is too low, tell them. So we'll go ahead and say, if guess greater than correct number, right, bigger than that number, print too high. Now we don't want to use else here, because the thing is, if we use else, that's going to be if the guess equals the number or if it's less than the number. So it's going to be both. We don't want it to check for the equals condition. We only want to check less than. So let's just make a separate if statement for this. Come on. So we have the if statement there. If the guess is too low, tell them. Let's see, if guess less than the correct number, we will tell them print too low. All right, so this will only print if it's greater than the correct number, and this one's only going to print if it's less than the correct number. It can't be both, so that these conditions are never going to trigger twice at once. So it's okay to just use if. If it was possible for them both to be true, I would use elif. But in this case, they're kind of mutually exclusive. All right, so let me go ahead and run this program now. All right, so it's giving me my guess here, 68. So if I enter 78, wrong guess, too high. If I get 45, wrong guess, too low, and 62, too low still, and then I enter 68, and I win the game. All right, so that's the program in a nutshell. That's the number guesser program. How can we improve this program? Let me think. Well, obviously, one thing we're going to want to do is take out that debug statement to make it more of a game. Right, so that'll make it so that I don't see the guess. That's a little more helpful. So 56, too high. 45, too high. 32, too high. Wow, it's a small one. 12, too high. Okay. 5, too high. 1, too low. 2, 3, 4. It's got to be 4. Huh, cool. So now you can actually play that game, right? So just by adding a few little extra conditional prompts as hints, you turn this into a game that was impossible to win into a game that you can actually kind of play and win, right? What else could we do to improve it? Well, we could add a little more spacing between these, or we could format it a little better. What if we wanted to do wrong guess and too low on one line, but we wanted to keep these separate print statements, right? What if we wanted to do that? Well, all we would really have to do with that is instead of ending this print statement with a new line, we could end it with a space or something like that. So let's end it with a space. We're going to use the keyword end, right, for the ending of the print statement, and we'll make it a space. Let's take a look at how that looks. Enter your guess. 5. Wrong guess, too low. All right. It's kind of okay. Maybe I want some punctuation in there too. Now I'm looking at it. So I'm going to add just a dot after the D. 5, too high. Oh, we got a low one again. 4. Wasn't 4 again. 2. 2 is the one. 2 is the one. That was intentional. Yeah, so that's how that simple program works in a nutshell. If you wanted to check your work, send it off to ChatGPT. How's this? What do they think? Effectively implements the desired number. Providing feedback. If the guess is too high or too low, they may have guessed the number. Keep track. Okay, so they're happy with it. So if you wanted to check your work that way, you could, but you should always just get in the habit of testing your work yourself, right? Think about which conditions trigger which functions, right? Think about which inputs are going to get different outputs. That's kind of what this is all about. All right, that wasn't so bad. Let's take a look at another one. Cool. Slightly harder one. Same concept, but don't give me a template. Write a Python program that generates a random word from a list of words. Okay, so this is going to be concepts we haven't covered yet, but maybe you'll find it interesting anyway. Write a program that generates a random word from a list of words. The program should then prompt the user to guess the word. Come on. Come on. You can do better than that. All right, I'll go with it. All right, it's fine. Let's go with this one. It's pretty simple. All right, so similar kind of concept, right? We want to have a while loop that goes while the guess is incorrect, right? So we're going to be using that like while not equal sort of construct again. But let's go ahead and start with the thing they gave us. All right, so this will be the word guesser. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our program. So first we're going to need to pick a random word, ask for the guess. While the guess is not the word, ask again. Is there anything else to it? Oh, this is cool. Wait, I didn't read this part. If the user's guess is incorrect, the program should provide a hint by revealing one letter of the word at a time. Okay, that's sick. All right, cool. All right, that's a little more fun. So, we also gonna need ask again. Ask again. Well, that's gonna be a different thing. And provide the hint. A hint. User continue guessing or run out of attempts. All right, cool. Great. Okay, So first things first, let me give you guys a little bit of background here. So we're going to be using another function from the random module. In this case, I think the one that I want to use is the choice one, which sets a choice from a list of words. So this here is a list that contains a bunch of strings in them. So this is the syntax to like store multiple items in a row, kind of. So we're going to be using a similar kind of syntax, except instead of randint, we're going to use the word choice, or the function choice, sorry, not just the word. All right, and what choice allows us to do is it'll pick something randomly from the list, as long as we put a list inside of it. All right, so we'll go ahead and pick the random word. So plus correct word equals choice from words. Right, before we do the rest of the program, let's just print that out. Look at what that does. Especially if you haven't seen that before, it might be a little weird. I can spell it correctly, maybe. I gotta make VS Code not pop that shit up while I'm doing this. Another thing to solve later. Let me go ahead and run this. Right, so this time I picked the word algorithm, which is that word. It's going to be the fourth word in the list. Let's try it again. You get the word loop. Isn't that clever? They put loop in the list. If you do it again, it's going to pick a different one. Programming. Well, it's not always going to be a different one. It's just random, so it could be the same one. But you get the idea, right? So each time I run the program, it gets me a different word to guess. All right, so now let's get to the fun part. So ask for the guess. This is going to be just like how we did it before, right? So guess equals input. Guess the word. This first time we're not going to get a hint, right? So that's just going to be guessing it. Guessing it blind. Guess the word. So while the guess is not the word, the correct word, ask again. Well, we know how to do that too. While the guess is not equal to the correct word, we're going to guess again. Guess the word. And let's move this comment up and provide a hint. So at this point, when the guess isn't the correct word, we want to provide a hint at this point. All right, so again, let's go through the program flow. So we're going to, let's leave the debug statement in there so we know which the correct word is so we can test the program. All right, so in this case, the word is Python. If I give something random, it says that's not the correct guess. Well, it doesn't say that yet. We're going to need to add that. So it just asks me to guess the word again. Right, and we keep doing that. And finally enter Python. The program ends, right? That condition becomes false. Python does not equal Python. That's a false statement. Python does equal Python. So the program ends. So let's add a little more functionality to this. Make this game a little more winnable. So first thing I want to do is probably say that they're wrong. So print guess was wrong. Maybe I'll actually tell them their guess. So their guess is in guess. So tell them guess is incorrect. Right? So that'll be their guess. That's the one that they're storing in that variable. Let's see how that changes a little bit. All right, the word's algorithm this time. So if I try to guess Python, it's going to be wrong. Python is incorrect. ASD, oops, I didn't mean to do that. ASD is incorrect. Mike is incorrect. Algorithm, just point of clarity, algorithm is also incorrect because Python doesn't know that that is lowercase or uppercase. We'll find a neat way to solve that in a later class. And algorithm is going to be the correct one. Okay, so now we are guessing the word, and it tells me if I'm wrong or not. But the ChatGPT came up with the idea of, how about you provide the user with a hint, where they can actually win the program, kind of. You know, you can't just have them guess random words all day. So let's see, provide a hint. So we're going to want to print something here, right? We're going to want to print the first letter of the word first, and then increase each time. Let's start with just the first letter of the word, just to keep things simple, and because we haven't really done that in class yet. So the first letter of the guess, right? So we're, no, sorry, not the guess, of the correct word, right? That's the hint we want to do. So correct word is the one we want to start slowly revealing. So the way you reference a certain character in a string in Python is with these little square brackets. And then you pick the number that represents the position of that word, of that letter. So in this case, we want the first letter And this might be a little confusing if you haven't seen it before, but the first position is denoted by 0, right? So the zero, it's sometimes called the 0th position, right? That's usually the first position whenever you're using a programming language. Some programming languages do it differently. This is the way Python does it, and how a lot of others do it too. Is that lists start from 0, and that strings start from 0, right? So P is the first letter in this word. Python is the first word in this list. We would use both. We would use the square brackets for both. We would use the square brackets 0 to get that first letter. Let's see if the program becomes a little more friendly with just that addition. All right, guess the word. So it doesn't give me a hint first. So, well, it tells me the answer because I'm printing it. But right, guess the letter, and that gives me the first letter of the correct word, which is L. Okay, so if I make more guesses, it doesn't give me more of a hint. So what I'm going to have to do is I don't want to just print the first character. I want to print the first character and the second character and the third character, etc., right? So I want to print them all out. So for this one, slicing is going to help us probably, but do I want to go into that? Yeah, let's go into it. Let me do another example before do this any further. So let's talk about slicing. All right, so say I have a word like this one, the word hello. What the frick? VS Code is messing with me. Let's try this again. Word is the word hello. I keep hitting something. Jesus frickin' frick. Word hello. I was hitting, I think. All right, you're stupid. You're very stupid. I'm going to my real terminal. This is why I don't use VS Code. It's because there's so much weird shit going on. Let's just run Python on its own. Okay. So say we have a word like the word hello. Word 0. Right, so, well, let me make a print just so I don't get questions about that. In interpreter mode, it works both ways, but for this, we'll just print. So if I print word at 0, that's kind of how I read that. Word at 0, the position 0, is going to be H. And likewise, if I go up in the word, right, I get the second character. I get the third character, which is the second position, etc., etc. Right, so, and then once I go out of bounds, I get this little error, right? String index out of range, because there's no more letters in the word. That's a common one to see, so get used to seeing it. Right, so that's how I address them individually. If I want to, if I want like a group of characters, though, I can use a slightly different syntax. And this is going to be similar to how you used range, right? So with range, let me go over that real quick again, right? Range. If I do something like 1 to 10, that's going to generate a list of numbers from 1 to 9, right? Not including this number. So it goes from 1, counts up by 1 until it reaches 10, but not including 10. All right, and the slicing syntax is going to be very similar. It has a start and a stop. And the only difference is that it has a colon character to separate it. So let's say I wanted the first few letters. So let's say starting from 0 and going up to the second character, but not including the second character. Sorry, the third character, but not including the third character. Right? So with strings, you're always thinking one less than. I know that's a little tricky the first time you're doing it. But let's take a look at this outputted, right? So if I go from 0 to 2, I get HE, right? HE. If I go from 1 to 2, I get just the letter E, right? Why did I get only the letter E? It should go 1 to 2. Well, remember, we're not including the 1 at 2. So 0, 1, 2, right? We're not including that guy, so it gets just that letter if we're starting with 1. Right? But if I go 0 to 2, I get both of them. If I go 0 to 3, I get HE. I think you guys see where this is going, right? So this is kind of how I want to reveal a word one at a time, right? So I want to start from 0 to 1, then I want to go 0 to 2, then I want to go 0 to 3, then I want to go 0 to 4. So This will look kind of familiar, right? This is like a counter, similar to how we might use it in a for loop. But we could also use it in a while loop too, if we just start with a variable at 1 and then increment it. We actually did that to make number guesser a little bit, right? We started with a guesses that starts with 0, and the guess goes up by 1 each time. Right, so I add 1 to it, and then that makes guess number 1. So we want something similar to keep track of the letter we're on. Let's go ahead and keep track of the letter. Let's make another comment here. Keep track of the letter we're on. All right, and we'll start with 0 because we're going to increment this in just a moment. All right, so if they guess incorrectly, we want to reveal the first letter, right? We want to add 1 to this and then go from 0 to 1 instead. So I can go ahead and do letter plus equals 1. And now, using that same syntax before, if I wanted 0 to 2, it would look like this. If I wanted 0 to 3, it will look like this. If I want the letter that I'm currently on, I'm going to replace that with the word letter, right? That's where I'm storing that position. So, correct word 0 to letter. It. Oh, did I make a mistake? Oh, I'm in the Python shell. Also, let me check in on chat. Did anything come in chat? No, nothing came. Yep, nobody's coming. That's okay. It happens. Let me check out YouTube right now. YouTube's still looking good. I don't think it screwed up anything. Although I think my stomach's making sounds, so nobody's going to enjoy that. Anyway, provide a hint. So we're going to go from 0 up to the letter that we're on. And I know what you're thinking probably here. How do we know that we're not including that letter? Right, well, we're incremented first. So let's just kind of go through this program. So for the first guess, if it's wrong, the letter goes up by 1. And this is going to give me 0 to 1, not including 1. So remember, 1 is the second character, so it doesn't include the second character. So if the word's hello, this is going to be just the letter H, 0 to 1, just like I was showing you here. Where? Here, right? 0 to 1. That's going to be 0 to 2 as it increments, right? That's the way this program is going to work. And let's just label this, right? So we'll say that this is the hint. Hint, comma. Right, so that'll put the word hint before this, separated by a space. Let's go ahead and play that. So the word is Python. Let's try to guess list. Hint starts with a P, so maybe programmer. PY, okay. Well, not too many PY words. That's kind of a giveaway. I think that's just going to be Python. And that is indeed the correct word. At this point, we might want to tell them that they won the game. Right, so when this condition is false, where does it go? It goes to the non-tab portion, right? It tabs out. So this is the end right now of the loop. If I want to print that they won, you did it. Array. So I go ahead and F, blah, blah, blah. Slowly but surely, it guesses the word. Eventually, I guess it correct. And it says you did it. Was that all ChatGPT was asking on this one? We should continue and guess, or they run out of attempts. Ooh, yes, right. So how many attempts should they have? If the guess is incorrect, provide a hint. Oh, duh, when the whole word is revealed, right? Okay, so, so let's think about that. So when the whole word is revealed, what does that mean? What is letter going to be? Well, I know one way we could find out. We could just print out letters, see which... Well, no, we're already printing out letter. No, we're not. We're printing out the letter. We're not printing out the number letter. Maybe that would help us to see where we want to stop this this game. All right, so if the word's algorithm, letter is 1, and it gives me the first letter. ESF, AL, ALG, ALGO. Right, and I'm on letter 5, 6, 7. And at this one, it should probably stop, right? Right, so after this guess, it should probably just say you lost and tell me the word. So that means we want it to stop at 8. Right? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, at 9. Right, that's going to be the length of the word. So in other words, we only want to keep guessing. The game's only going to run as long as we are less than the length of the word. Because once it equals the length of the word, 9, so let's say it's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the full word. So there's a convenient little function to get the length of a string in Python. It is the len function. Works something like this. len, Python. 6 letters, right? Python, 6 letters. Right, so if we want to do the length of the correct word, right? So we want to say while the letter that we're on is less than the length of the current word. So and letter less than the length of the correct word. Let me zoom out a little bit so everyone can see. So let's go back here. All right, so while guess is not equal to the correct word, and letter is less than the length of the correct word. All right, and now you're going to see while this increments, it's going to break out of the loop early instead of going on forever. So programming. Of course, they had to pick a long one. Let's go ahead and pick our first guess. That is the letter P, letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, letter 4, letter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the length of the, oh wait, no, one more, 10. The length of the word is 11, so that means at this one, it should break out of the loop. It's going to say you did it because we didn't program that logic yet, but at this point, the loop should end. I screwed up. So we're off by 1, it looks like, which is common. So in that case, actually, we want it to be while the letter is less than 1 less than the length. Right, so let's just subtract 1 from this, and I think that's going to fix that. So let's go play that. Programming again, wow. Real random. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And at this point, it should say I did it, right? That's the game. But obviously, we don't want it to just say we did it. We only want to say you did it if we're not at the length of... We only want to say we did it if the whole word isn't revealed. So this is where we want to check what our letter is, right? What letter did we reveal up to? You got to make sure that it's not equal to the length of the word, because if it is, that means that you showed the whole word, right? So if I showed all 11 words of programming, letter should be equal to 11. So we should say if letter equals length of the correct word. Well, that means they lost, right? So if it equals the length of the correct word, print you lost, the word was correct word. In any other case, right, you must have, well, let's just make it greater than or equal to. And no, we don't have to. If it's equal, the loop ends, right? It can't be greater than. So otherwise, that means you had to have won, right? That means letter is less than the length. Letter couldn't really be greater than the length because that would violate this first condition, right? So that can't actually happen. I assume this is right, but I feel like this is going to be off by 1 error. So let's double check and make sure. I honestly don't know. So function is the word. So let's guess ASD, second letter, third letter, fourth letter, fifth letter, 6th, 7th, and this should be the last letter. Okay, so what happened here? So it broke out of the loop. Oh, I think I know what happened. So letter doesn't increment an extra time, right? So because right, all right. So let's think this out. Letter is 7, and the length of the letter is the length of the correct word is 8. So that means that when this loop ends, letter is 7, right? So what happened on this last loop? Letter went up from 6 to 7, printed 7. Guess is incorrect. Hint 0 to 7. So that's everything up to 7. Wait, hold on. I'm done. No, I'm not done. No, that's correct. Right, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 7 is the next character. That is the end of the word, the length of the word. So when we're on 7, letter equals len minus 1. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I am dumb. Hold on. Hold on. This is why this stuff's always tricky. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 0 to... No, yeah, 0 to 7. That will include that, right. I'm count from 0. Okay, let's go through that again. Right, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the letter is 7. Right, so... And the length of the word is 8. So 7 is still less than... 8. So length of the word is 8. 8 minus 1. 7 is no longer less than 7. So we don't loop again. So that means that when we get here, right? So 7 is good enough to make this case stop. So in other words, this condition needs to be 1 less than the word, right? So this word is 8, and we want it to be 7, because letter equals 7 here. So let's subtract 1 from it, and that should give us the correct one. And actually, that makes sense now, right? Because we've revealed this many letters so far, 7 letters in the case of function, and we're going to tell them, once we've revealed those many letters, that this is the correct word. That actually makes sense now in my mind. ASD, start with the pi, 3, 4, 5. And it should end here. So I hit ASD. You lost, the word was Python. Awesome. I think that's all we had to do. Let's just take away that debug statement. Let's see if this is a playable game now. Right, so we're not going to give them the word to start. Let's see if we can guess the word. From. First word is P. Well, I think there's programming, Python, and something else in there. Let me try... well, I'll pick something that's not real. I'll do, personality. Not in the list. PR. Program? No, it's PRO, though, so maybe programmer. Programming. And that's the one. Guess the word is programming before I got to the end. Alright, so we did 2 of those problems. Still no one showing up, so I guess just for posterity's sake, maybe it'll help people to look back on this. I'm going to go ahead and just do the problem we had in class, or the one I gave you in class, the outbid. Outbid.py. So this one I gave you guys was to create an eBay-like game where you give the user 3 chances to outbid you on an item. Each time they fail to guess, you can increase the bid by an amount you choose, or for a challenge, a random amount. So the file given gives you starting values, and so it gives the item list price, the item name, your initial bid, and the amount to increase the bid by, as well as your first prompt. So your job is to make a loop that continues while the user's bid is lower than yours, and there are guesses remaining. Lower the amount of guesses left, increase your starting bid by a chosen or random amount, ask for a new guess, and if the game ends with the bid's user higher, they win. Otherwise, they lose. In this case, we're going to just assume that it's going to be a floating point. Right, so I gave you this little prompt. Bid.py. Paste it. Okay, let's just make sure we understand the code we have so far. So here is the name of the item that I want to bid on. This is the item price of that item. This is going to be my starting bid. So it's kind of like the computer starting bid. We could randomize this maybe if we wanted to. And this is the amount we want to increase that bid by every time they get it wrong. This little prompt here is kind of a little neat little one that I came up with. This isn't really common, so let me explain what that means. It's not formatting. So here I used a format string to format the item and the item price to 2 decimal places, right? So that's how we would read this part. Right, so, and we challenge them to try to get it cheaper. This little percent thing is, I thought ahead, if you want to, like if somebody might just like write like higher than the price, that kind of defeats the purpose of the game, I feel. So let me just show you. Print player bid. Right, so I kind of made this prompt, I kind of engineered it so it's impossible to guess something over the price. So for example, if I enter like $7.50, like that's okay, right, 7.5. But if I try to guess like $14, this program's going to stop me because I used this modulo thing at the end. So what's happening here is it gets the remainder, the stuff that's left over when I divide that number. Well, actually, it's more like when I subtract that number when you think about it. But when you divide that number in, what's left over? Okay, so that will force the number to not go over maximum. So we don't have to worry about that part. So the goal of this one is to say, where is my page again? There we go. So make a loop that continues while the user's bid is lower than yours and there are guesses remaining. So first we got to keep track of our guesses. So let's go ahead and say, well, let's write that out first. So ask for guesses while guess is less than my bid and there are guesses remaining. A bit of a long line, but you get the idea. Lower this. Okay, so first we're going to need a variable to keep track of guesses. So we'll start with guesses. Well, let's let's be specific. Let's call them remaining guesses. Remaining, spell that correctly. Remaining guesses. Let's say they start with 3 guesses. And we want to say while the guess is less than my bid and there are guesses remaining. All right, let's try to figure out that condition first. So while the guess, well, actually, hold on. The guess is stored in player bid. So let's use that variable. So player bid. So while the player bid is less than my starting bid. No, let me call that my bid. I don't think starting bid is actually that clear. My bid. While player bid is less than my bid, and guesses, I guess should be greater than 0, right? If we need to change it later, we can fix it. I think greater than 0 makes sense. Once you're at 0, you should be out of guesses. So what do we want to do in this while loop? So it says lower the amount of guesses left. We'll do that first. Guesses, right? They made a guess. Minus equals 1. Increase the starting bid by a chosen or random amount. I chose the amount in this case, my bid increase. So we'll go ahead and say my bid plus equals, that's for incrementing. So that's like adding something to the variable on the left and storing it in that variable. My bid plus equals my bid increase. Ask for a new guess under the starting bid. Right, so we'll just go ahead and copy in that prompt that we had. Well, actually, let's change it a little bit. Let's make it a little less fancy. Okay, so I'm adding a few extra things to that prompt. So I'm saying too low the bid has been raised, try again. If the game ends with the user's bid higher, they would, well, that's at the end of the game. Let's focus on just this part of the game. All right, so while the guess is less than my bid and there are guesses remaining. So let's see if this works so far. Let's see what this does. Go ahead and run this. So the get price to beat is $13.50, so I ideally want to pick something lower than that. So let's go ahead and pick something like $4.50. Oh, oops, did I make a mistake? Name guesses not defined. Oh, remaining guesses. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and try that again. So let's say we got 4.5. Too low, the bid has been raised, right? So the bid started at 5 and it got raised to 750, right? So if I guess 7 now, this is still going to be too low. It got raised again. In this case, I think it'd be raised to $10, so you'd want to get it at 11, but that's probably not the best that you could have done. So that exited the loop, right? That would be correct. The other way I could end this loop is if I run out of guesses. Oh wait, I gotta guess real numbers. So 1, 1, 1, 1. Well, it gave me 4 guesses, so that means I'm off by 1. So that means I'm going to want to change this to 1, which makes sense because it goes down to 2 for the first guess, it goes down to 1 for the next guess, and then it goes down to 0. 0 is not greater than 1. No. I'm so bad at off by 1 shit. So hold on. 3. 3 is greater than 1, minus 1. First guess. 2. 2 is greater than 1, minus 1. First guess. Wait, sorry. 2. Yeah, minus 1. 1 greater than 1. I'm so bad at this stuff. Let's just print it out. Right, that's always the easiest way to do it. Print remaining guesses. I'll do it, after. Right, because we guess first up here. That's our first guess. 3. So remaining guesses is 2. I have another guess. 1. Right. It checks 2 and then goes down by 1, and then this is the third guess. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay. Out of guesses. Okay, now we need to make that, when the loop ends, we have to kind of figure out what happened in the game, right? Whether we won or lost. So if the game ends with the user's bid higher, that means they had to have won, right? That makes sense. So if the player bid is greater than my bid, print you won the item. You won item. Okay. Otherwise, they had to have run out of guesses, right? That's the only other possibility. So if they're not higher, they must have lost. You lost. My bid was, what was it? What did I call it? My bid? Yeah, my bid. Let's put a $sign on the end of that too. Oh, I spelled this wrong. My underscore bid. All right, with just that simple correction, this is now going to give you some feedback at the end of the game. All right, so let's say I guess right away. Let's say I beat him at $7. You won Kalia the Best. Nice. Need that card. So if I have 4.5, bid is too low, guess again. It's now higher than 750, and I have to guess 11 to win it. All right, but if I also guessed too low, so I got 1, 1, 1, you lost. My bid was $10. And that's all there is to that one, really. The only way I would improve this is maybe make this a random number. Let's do that. Or sorry, rather my bid a random number. How do you do random floating points? I think it's just random. Python random float. Random.random. Oh, there's also random.uniform. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know about that. All right, let's use that one. So what this is doing is it returns a random float number between a range. So between 10.5 and 75.5, for example. All right, so we're going to want to import that. So from random, import uniform. Okay, and then we just need to say my bid can just be something uniform. So maybe it'll range from $5 to $12. Yeah, 5.0. Yeah, let's make it a float. 11.5. That's the highest that'll go. Right now, if I guess 5, I was too low, right? Even though, that was in the loop, right? So because that's on the lower end, I ended up with a higher number, right? It didn't make it. And you could randomize the increase and everything else just the same way. All right, guys. That was 3 while loop problems that I hope were helpful to you. Good luck on your test tomorrow. I'm going to sign off for now because it looks like no one showed up, but I had a lot of fun relearning that stuff. I will see you guys tomorrow or on the next stream.